From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana, Siddiqui. 3 Muslim students wearing hijab were brutally attacked by about 20 students at Paul Revere Middle School in Houston, Texas. The mob beat and stabbed the girls with pencils in the school lunchroom. As a result, one girl was hospitalized for 4 days due to her injuries and must wear a neck brace. A video of the March 3rd attack, which only recently came to light, shows chaos as an assistant principal steps in to break up the violence. The Houston chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has slammed the school for failing to protect the students who came to the U.S. from Afghanistan seeking safety. CAIR is calling for immediate school transfers for the victims, an independent investigation, as well as trauma support for the girls and their families. CAIR Houston spokesperson William White has also called for strict anti-violence and anti-discrimination policies across schools. In a statement sent to the Houston Press newspaper, the Houston Independent School District said the 7 aggressors in the incident received disciplinary consequences aligned with the district's code of conduct. As well, it said it has offered a school transfer to one of the victims and met with the family on March 6th. The Trump administration has frozen over $1 billion in funding for Cornell University and $790 million for Northwestern University. The New York Times reports that the move targets grants from the Departments of Agriculture, Defense, Education, and Health. Cornell said it received over 75 stop work orders, but has no confirmation about the billion-dollar figure. It warns that critical defense, cybersecurity, and health research could suffer. Northwestern says it has not been officially notified, but stressed that the funding supports innovative and life-saving research. The freeze follows warnings last month to 60 universities over anti-Semitism and racial discrimination probes. Last month, the administration also canceled $400 million in grants to Columbia University, citing its handling of pro-Palestine protests last year. The crackdown has also seen the detention of Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish Fulbright scholar at Tufts University, and Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist and Columbia University graduate. A judge has given the Trump administration 24 hours to prove why Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil should be deported. Khalil, a legal U.S. resident and green card holder, was arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers on March 8th. He was first detained in New Jersey, then moved to a detention center in Louisiana. Despite his arrest, Khalil has not been formally charged with any deportable offense. At a hearing, Immigration Judge Jamie Cummins ordered the Department of Homeland Security to share evidence of Khalil's removability by Wednesday. A follow-up hearing is set for Friday. The judge is expected to decide soon if Khalil will stay in custody or be released. Khalil was a prominent leader in last spring's protests against Israel's genocide in Gaza at Columbia University. Microsoft is under fire for allegedly helping the Israeli military through its cloud and AI services in its genocide of Palestinians. Reports say Microsoft, along with Google and Amazon, provided crucial technology support for Israeli operations. A now former Microsoft engineer, Harvard graduate Ibtihal Abu Saad, called out Microsoft during the company's 50th anniversary event last week. In a video that has gone viral, she is seen interrupting Microsoft AI chief Mustafa Suleyman's speech. "Shame on you, you are a war profiteer," Abu Saad continued. "Stop using AI for genocide, Mustafa. Stop using AI for genocide in our region." Similarly, a second employee, Vanya Agarwal, spoke out at a separate Microsoft event with executives on Friday and interrupted a speech from CEO Satya Nadella. According to The Guardian, Microsoft signed multi-million-dollar deals to supply Israel with more IT services after October 7, 2023. The Associated Press, or AP, reports that the Israeli military used Microsoft's Azure cloud to process mass surveillance data, including calls, texts, and audio. Officials told AP that Azure helped search huge amounts of data for keywords. Israeli military use of AI models from Microsoft and OpenAI rose by 200 times after the attacks. Their stored data on Microsoft servers more than doubled to 13.6 petabytes by mid-2024. Heidi Khlaf, a former OpenAI engineer, said it was the first time commercial AI models were confirmed to be used in warfare. Meanwhile, the Washington Post reveals that Google also worked closely with Israel's military, rushing to meet their cloud service demands to prevent them from switching to Amazon. A Google employee thanked a colleague for completing a task that was commissioned by the Israeli military in a document dating back to November 2023. Months later, another released message showed that an employee requested additional access to AI tools for the Israeli military's needs. A federal judge has ordered the White House to fully restore the Associated Press, or AP's, access to presidential events. Judge Trevor McFadden ruled the government violated the AP's free speech rights. In his ruling, McFadden wrote, "If the government opens its doors to some journalists, it cannot shut those doors to others because of their viewpoints." The AP was banned from select press pools in February, limiting its coverage of Oval Office meetings and Air Force One travel. While the White House claims the AP is still credentialed, the AP says being excluded from key coverage violates the First Amendment. The dispute began after AP refused to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, as President Donald Trump had directed. The AP stressed that Trump's naming order holds no authority internationally and that news outlets must stick to the facts. The judge delayed his ruling for a week to allow the government to appeal. The decision is seen as a major win for press freedom. The AP said billions of people worldwide depend on what it called its unbiased reporting, and that restricting access undermines democracy. Observers say the case highlights ongoing tensions between the Trump administration and the media. Trump targets attorneys defending Palestine supporters. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. An American lawyer representing a pro-Palestine student activist says he was detained at Detroit airport in a movement to intimidate attorneys standing up for free speech. An American lawyer representing a pro-Palestine student activist says he was detained at Detroit airport in a movement to intimidate attorneys standing up for free speech. 38-year-old Amr Makhlad was returning from a family trip when federal agents stopped him. He says they questioned him about his clients and demanded access to his phone. Makhlad refused, saying his phone held confidential legal work. Makhlad is representing a student protester arrested last year at the University of Michigan. After a brief detainment, agents reviewed his contact list but eventually let him go. Makhlad later discovered that a terrorism response team had been flagged to handle his case. He says his detention highlights growing threats to the rule of law under President Donald Trump's leadership. Meanwhile, U.S. Customs and Border Protection denies political targeting, claiming searches focus on national security and remain rare. Makhlad says the experience will not silence him, saying lawyers must stand up when rights are violated. He urged fellow attorneys to speak out. Acting head of the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, Melanie Krause, is stepping down. Her resignation follows a controversial deal to share immigrants' tax data with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Reports say that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem made the agreement. It allows ICE to give immigrant names to the IRS to check tax records. Krause, who had led the IRS since February, opposed the final version of the deal. She reportedly learned about its details from the news. The IRS, which is known for protecting taxpayer privacy, has faced chaos since the deal was announced. Many career officials worry it could trigger bigger privacy concerns. Krause is set to leave on April 28th, just before the busy tax season deadline. Her resignation adds to a wave of senior departures at the agency. The Wall Street Journal says Krause's exit is part of a deferred resignation program for federal employees. Media representatives gathered in Gaza City to protest against the Israeli army for targeting journalists. The demonstration took place in front of Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital. An Israeli airstrike on a tent in southern Gaza on Sunday evening killed several journalists and a 27-year-old father assisting NBC News' crew. Among the victims were Ahmed Mansour, an editor with the Palestine Today news agency, and his colleague Helmi Al-Faqawi. Also killed was Yusuf Al-Khuzindar, a father of two who was helping NBC News procure supplies and fuel. He had been in a neighboring tent being used by the news agency at the time of the strike. Israel has killed more than 200 journalists and media workers since October 2023, according to the Palestinian Journalists Syndicate. Hamas has launched a legal bid in London to overturn Britain's 20-year-old terror designation against the group. In court documents filed on Wednesday, lawyers for Hamas argued that it is a legitimate resistance movement, not a terrorist group. Hamas is urging UK authorities to recognize its right to armed struggle against Israeli occupation. Musa Abu Marzouk, Hamas's top political leader and the lawsuit's main petitioner, insists that the group fights only within historic Palestine and poses no threat to the West. He also denies accusations of anti-Semitism, calling Hamas's struggle a response to Israeli colonialism and occupation. The legal filing draws parallels between Hamas and past liberation movements, including South Africa's African National Congress and Ireland's Irish Republican Army. Both of these groups were once labeled terrorists, but later recognized as political actors. Hamas claims it seeks a Palestinian state based on pre-1967 borders and accuses Britain of silencing debate on Palestinian rights. The UK government, which banned Hamas in 2001, maintains the group engages in terrorism. The case could set a major precedent if successful, reshaping Western policies toward Hamas. Israel has killed at least 36 Palestinians in airstrikes on Gaza over the past 24 hours. One strike flattened a multi-story home in Shujaya, Gaza City, killing at least 29 people, including children, local health officials said. Medics report at least 55 wounded and 80 still missing under the rubble. Nearby houses were also damaged. In southern Gaza, an Israeli attack in the so-called Israeli-designated safe zone of Al-Mawasi killed a man, a woman, and a little girl. A strike in the area also hit close to a clinic run by the humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders. Meanwhile, food, water, and medical supplies are running out across Gaza. 6 weeks of Israeli blockade have emptied markets, closed bakeries, and ended emergency meal distributions, Al Jazeera reports. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, has warned of a devastating impact on children. It says safe water, food, shelter, and medical care have become increasingly scarce. Israeli army spokesman Avishai Abdurei said Israeli forces hit over 45 targets across Gaza in the last day, destroying tunnels and infrastructure in Rafah's Tel al-Sultan neighborhood. The Palestinian Health Ministry says that Israel has killed at least 50,810 Palestinians and wounded 115,688 in its genocide in Gaza since October 2023. Last November, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice for its war on the region. India has scrapped a key trade facility that allowed neighboring Bangladesh to ship export cargo through Indian land customs stations to third countries. The facility, in place since 2020, helped Bangladesh send goods to Bhutan, Nepal, and Burma. A government circular says cargo already inside India can exit under old rules, but no new shipments will be allowed. Bilateral trade between India and Bangladesh was $12.9 billion last year. The move comes as the U.S. slaps tariffs on both India and Bangladesh. Exporters in India had complained that Bangladeshi cargo was eating into air cargo space. The two countries' relations have worsened since Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus replaced India's ally Sheikh Hasina as Bangladesh's interim leader last year following anti-government protests. Hasina, who is now in India, faces charges in Bangladesh but has refused extradition. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Yunus for the first time at a regional summit in Bangkok last week. Bangladesh's caretaker government is tasked with holding elections by June 2026. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.